Peace and Pan-Africanism. Peace and Pan-Africanism. Peace and Pan-Africanism. I want to salute the ancestors, my African ancestors, my Caribbean ancestors, my ancestors who traveled to and civilized the land of Asia, my ancestors who traveled to and civilized the lands of Europe, my Caribbean ancestors, my Central and South American ancestors, my Canadian ancestors, my Australian ancestors, my South Pacific ancestors, my ancestors who came through the Ma'afa, the greatest human tragedy in recorded history, the worst forced transmigration in recorded history, the worst human sin known to man. Brothers and sisters, this is Intercontinental Ifa Tunde. And tonight, I'm not going to keep you long, but tonight, I want to talk about revolution is not an intellectual event. Revolution is not an intellectual event. Revolution is not an intellectual event. And I'm motivated to talk about this issue because too many of you, too many of us, too many Black people believe that we can change our reality by way of intellectual gymnastics. There's many of us who think that if we come up with the right theory, i.e. critical race theory, if we come up with the right theory, we can solve our problems. If we read the right book, we can solve our problems. If we can intellectually masturbate our oppression long enough and deep enough, we can overcome our situation. And I'm here to tell you that the Black liberation struggle does not hinge on how many books you read. The Black intellectual struggle does not hinge on how many documentaries you watch. The Black liberation struggle is not about theory. It's not about information. It's not about books. It's not about documentaries. It's not about seminars. The Black liberation struggle hinges upon how much work we are willing to do in these streets and against this beast. I repeat, the Black liberation struggle hinges upon how much work we are willing to do in these streets and against this beast. I said the Black liberation struggle hinges upon how much work we are willing to do in these streets and against this beast. It is proactive. What are you doing to create a new reality? What systems are you designing? What institutions are you building? What communities are you giving birth to? So half of the struggle, if I take my avocado and cut it in half, and I love avocado because it's green in the inside, black on the outside, I call it the Ogun fruit. Green in the inside, black on the outside, I call it the Ogun fruit. But if I take this avocado and slice it in half with my Ogun knife, one half is the progressive part of our struggle. What are we going to build? What are we going to create? What are we going to give life to? You understand? It's about the birthing, you understand? The infrastructure, the systems, the institutions. What are we going to create? What are we going to build? What are we going to give birth to? That's one half of the liberation struggle. The other half of the liberation struggle, what are we willing to destroy, confront, that is threatening the existence and happiness of African people? You have your positive and you have your negative. The positive, what are we going to build for African people? What systems are we going to create for African people? What institutions are we going to design? That's the positive. The negative, just as important. Just as important. What are we willing to destroy? What are we willing to confront? What are we willing to go to war for? What is threatening the existence of African people that requires direct confrontation with the enemy? And I want to be clear about this, because some of us think that if we build the institutions, we will be free. No, 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 no. Building the institutions is the road to freedom. But I can promise you, just like Black Tulsa, just like Black Rosewood, just like Black Wilmington, North Carolina, and Charleston, South Carolina, Black progress always leads to white confrontation. Whenever we are on a roll as a people, your oppressor will confront your progress and try to destroy it. So we can't build schools and hide from racism. We can't build banks and hide from racism. We can't build hospitals and hide from racism. We can't build supermarkets and hide from racism. We can't build distribution networks and hide from racism. We can't build manufacturing plants and hide from racism. We can't build Black hotels and hide from racism. Racism will still find you. So there must be a military structure within the liberation movement. There must be a military structure within the liberation movement that is willing to confront the forces of evil as they come against us. And that military structure is also willing to go out and seek the forces of evil that are aligned against us. So the military not only defends, but it also seeks and destroys. So I want us to understand that we need both parts. We need both. We need the progressive, we must build. The positive, we must create systems and institutions. But there is also the negative, but it is a necessary negative. We must be willing to fight and die for the liberation of African people and the protection of our infrastructure, our systems, our institutions, and our race-first organizations. Notice I said race-first organizations. And the reason I say race-first organizations is because most Black organizations are not race-first. I'm joining you live and direct from Chester, Pennsylvania. I'm joining you live and direct from Chester, Pennsylvania. I'm joining you live and direct from Chester, Pennsylvania, the place where the good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. earned his seminary degree after he graduated from Morehouse College in Atlanta. The good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. came here to Chester, Pennsylvania, and he earned his seminary degree at Chester Theological Seminary. Also, Osborne Anderson, the only survivor of John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Osborne Anderson, the only survivor of John Brown's army from the Harper's Ferry raid, was also born right here in Chester, Pennsylvania. Also, not far from Chester, Not far from Chester is the place where a group of white activists broke into an FBI office back in the 1960s and uncovered secret FBI documentation with the letters COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO is known to the entire black community now. But had it not been for those white folk who broke into an FBI office not far from Chester, Pennsylvania in the 1960s, had they never uncovered those secret FBI documents, we would have never known about the FBI's counterintelligence program. All that was done from right here in Chester, Pennsylvania. So let's continue. Revolution is not an intellectual event. It has two parts. It has a positive and progressive and productive part where we must create, design, build systems, institutions, communities. We must build systems, institutions, and communities. That's the proactive side of revolution. The reactive side is the militaristic side. We must confront the enemies of our people. We must seek and destroy the enemies of our people. Now, here's one of the issues I have with the Black conscious community. Some of us want to fight, but we don't want to work. Let me say this again. A lot of you are filled with anger at your enemy, justifiably so. You are filled with rage at your oppressor, justifiably so. But the problem is, you will fight, you will kill, you will die. You will fight, you will die, you will kill, but are you willing to build? We don't just need soldiers who want to kill. We need soldiers who want to build. Male and female, young and old. We don't just need soldiers who want to kill. We need soldiers who want to build. Male and female, young and old. We have too many people who just want to go to war. They are reactive and destructive. You need that for war. But when the war is over, if you don't have love for African people in your heart, if you don't have love for African people in your heart, if you don't have love for African people in your heart, when the war is over, if all you know is killing and fighting, if when the war is over and all you know is killing and fighting, when the war is over, if all you know is killing and fighting, you will seek to continue to do that against your own people. If all you know is killing and fighting, you will seek to continue the onslaught against your own people. I am not interested in brothers and sisters who are just bloodthirsty warmongers. If you are simply a bloodthirsty warmonger, I have no use for you. Because after we win the war, you will turn your sword on your community. After we win the war, you will turn your gun on your own community. You have to be able to kill, but you have to be able to build. And then on the other side, you have brothers and sisters who are the intellectuals, or should I say the pseudo-intellectuals. They want to sit around and intellectualize the struggle. They think they can solve the problem intellectually without building anything. We have a lot of intellectual imaginators. That's what they are. They are imaginators. They have this imaginary idea that I can liberate African people without any struggle with the power structure. I'm here to tell you, no people in human history have ever gotten free just by intellectualizing their struggle. No, Sister Terry, if it's over your head, jump off the live, baby. If it's over your head, jump off the live, okay? You might want to go watch one of your favorite TV shows. This is only for people who thirst and hunger for African liberation. If you don't thirst and hunger for African liberation, this will make absolutely no sense to you. You understand me? This is a totally different language if you don't thirst for liberation. So the point that I'm making, the intellectual must become a practical builder. And the warrior must become a practical builder. We only win if we create our own reality. This is not about integration or separation. That is a false dichotomy for the revolutionary Pan-Africanist. This is not about integration or separation. That is a false dichotomy for the revolutionary. This is not about integration and separation. Why? Why is this not about integration and separation? Because integration has already proven to be a failure. And separation has already been the order of the day. You live by yourself. You die by yourself. You suffer by yourself. You struggle by yourself. You are already separated. The only time white people have to deal with you is when you come to them to access their institutions because you don't have your own. The only time white people have to deal with you is because you have to go to their institutions because you don't have your own. I said the only time white people have to deal with you is when you have to go to their institutions because you don't have your own. We are already separate. We don't need to fight for separation. They are gentrifying your communities. They have locked us in the ghettos. We are disproportionately represented in prison. We are already separated. So you don't have to fight for separation. And they are never going to integrate you. So there's no need to fight for integration. So this whole integration separation is a waste of time. The true dichotomy is dependence and independence. The true dichotomy is independence or dependence. Do we want to stay dependent on the white power structure, or do we want to become independent and create our own reality? That's the only question. This is not separation and integration. This is dependence and independence. And the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey already told us. The most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey already told us that a race that depends upon another people will sooner or later die. Garvey said the race that depends upon another people will sooner or later die. Dependence is death. If we are going to make it a point to fight for the right to remain dependent on the U.S. government, then we are fighting for the right to become extinct. If we are going to fight for the right to depend eternally on the government, then we are fighting for the right to become extinct. Understand me, overstand me, understand me. You all should be demanding every popular, fake, woke, so-called conscious leader y'all listen to. You all should be demanding that every fake, woke, so-called conscious leader you listen to be actively engaged in the building of a relevant institution. You should be demanding that all of us be actively engaged in the creation of relevant institutions. But the reason why most of you do not require your fake, woke, so-called conscious leaders to be actively engaged in the building of institutions is because you are not interested in doing any work yourselves. And because you all are not interested in doing any work yourself, you don't require of your pseudo leadership what you yourself don't want to be a part of. Y'all look at what Dr.UMAR is going through. Y'all look at what Dr.UMAR is going through with FDMG, and you say, I don't want that smoke. I don't want to be at no school all day and night waiting for renovations and chasing down contractors and raising money and paying taxes and dealing with coons and saboteurs. But guess what? That's a part of the process. That's a part of the process. If you are not interested in building institutions, please stop saying you're interested in liberation. If you're not interested in building institutions, please stop saying you're interested in liberation. And what a lot of us like to do, because we're not serious about doing the work, if you listen, you're getting the answers. What a lot of us like to do is we want to divert from the work of reconstructing the Black community. We want to divert from the work of making our people a self-sustaining, independent nation in America. We want to distract from that by doing what? Engaging in character assassination, fighting over identity. There's no need to fight over identity. I am an African. I happen to know who I am. But do you think I'm going to waste my time trying to convince somebody who has already made up their mind that they want to distance themselves from their ancestors? I'm not wasting my time doing that. You will never see me fight with people who have already made up their mind that they are going to try to disidentify from their race as a strategy of liberation. It has never worked before, and it will never work again. It has never worked before, and it will never work again. So people who want to say they Asiatic, people who want to be pretendians, whatever they want to be, let them have that. It's an irrelevant argument. You know why it's it's as irrelevant as arguing over religion. It's as irrelevant as arguing over religion. Why? Why is arguing over identity just as irrelevant as arguing over religion? Because no matter who wins, the Muslim or the Christian, no matter who wins, the Muslim or the Christian, no matter who wins, the Hebrew or the Jehovah's Witness, no matter who wins, the Episcopalians or the Methodists, no religion has a solution for Black liberation. So why are you fighting over a situation that does not have a solution for Black liberation? Whether you say you African, whether you say you Asiatic, whether you say you a pretendian, that's not a solution. Identity is not a solution. And the reason why so many people are fighting over identity is nobody wants to do the work. I don't care what you call yourself. We are all in the same boat in this country. I don't care if you want to be a Cherokee. I don't care if you want to be a Choctaw. I don't care if you want to be an Asiatic Black man. I don't care if you want to be indigenous. I don't care if you want to be ADOS. I don't care what you want to be. In the eyes of the white man, we are all members of the same race. They could care less what you call yourself. They could care less what you call yourself. They could care less what you call yourself. So fighting over identity is a waste of time. We should be debating strategy, tactic, goal, and conclusion. I'm not debating nothing except strategy, tactic, goal, and conclusion. I'm not interested. I am not interested. Dr. King versus Malcolm. I'm not interested. Frederick Douglass versus Martin Delany. I'm not interested. Minister Farrakhan versus Jesse Jackson. I'm not interested. The Most Honorable Marcus Garvey versus Mr. Muhammad. I'm not interested. I am not here to fight over the works of dead men. I am living and I am breathing. What you think about the Most Honorable Marcus Garvey is your business. What you think about Mr. Elijah Muhammad is your business. What you think about W.E.B. Du Bois and Malcolm X and Fred Hampton, that's your business. I know what I think about them. But no matter what I think about them, no matter what you think about them, it does not lead to a solution. All we should be discussing is strategy, tactic, goals, and conclusions. Shout out to all my Chester, Pennsylvania Africans. Shout out to all my Chester, Pennsylvania Africans. Shout out to all my Chester, Pennsylvania Africans. Let's look at a certain institution. Let's look at a critical institution. Let's talk about education. Let's deal with education. Education is probably the most critical institution that we have failed to create for our children. One thing all black people agree on in America. There's one thing that all black people agree on. We don't agree on religion. We don't agree on Republicans and Democrats. We don't agree on integration and independence, but we all agree that public education is a failure for black children. We all agree. I don't care if you're a bourgeoisie. I don't care if you're an ex-con. I don't care if you're homeless. I don't care if you're poor, working class, on welfare. We all agree that public education is a failure for black children. So here's the $1 million question. If all African people agree that public education is a failure for African children in America, why haven't we systemically done anything about it? Listen to my question. If we agree that public education is a failure for African children in America, why haven't we systemically created schools for our children? You know why? I'm going to tell you why. We do not love ourselves. And as a byproduct of not loving ourselves, we don't love our children either. You cannot hate yourself and love your children because they are you. Let me say this again. You cannot hate yourself and love your children. Why do we leave millions of black boys in a system designed to turn them into a career criminal? Why do we do that? Why do we send millions of black girls into public schools every day, which is designed to perpetuate teenage pregnancy and poverty? Why do we send our children into schools where states are passing laws? The governor of Mississippi this week just signed a bill banning critical race theory.